So today we're going to be making gluten-free Welsh cakes. So I usually use Bob's Red Mill flour blend. So I have a cup and a half of that and then a fourth a cup of cornstarch just to lighten it up and make sure it's not dense like a bunch of gluten-free things are. And then we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder and then a fourth a teaspoon of allspice. I don't have any allspice today, so we are going to make it up. Just gonna add a little bit of nutmeg, a little bit of cloves, and a little bit of pumpkin pie spice, which is kind of like allspice. I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's a good replacement if you don't have allspice, basically. Then we're gonna put in, I just spilled the salt everywhere. We're gonna put in a fourth a teaspoon of salt. Depending on how salty your butter is, you may not need a fourth, you may need closer to an eighth a teaspoon. It just depends on which brand butter you buy. Then we're gonna put in a third cup of sugar and half a cup of cold butter that's cut into pieces. So I cut mine up, I'm putting it in here. Normally I would use, it says use your fingers, but that really bothers me for some reason. Normally I would use a pastry cutter, which is like this little handheld thing, and it has a bunch of dull blades on the end, and it just helps cut your butter. But a few weeks ago, I was on a decluttering kick and I got rid of mine, even though I use it fairly often, so there's that. And once this all comes together, you're gonna add a half a cup of currants, is the traditional thing that you add, but sometimes I can't find currants here, so I'll use raisins, and sometimes I don't really like raisins, so I'll use chopped up dates, which tastes really good. I know it's not traditional, but it tastes better. Today, I'm just gonna go the easy route and the crowd pleasing route and do mini chocolate chips because it tastes nice. And a lot of people don't like dried fruit in their baked goods. And if it doesn't start coming together, you can add a splash of milk or water just until it's not too crumbly, because sometimes it just stays crumbly. I'm actually gonna add vanilla this time, which is another non-traditional thing. So basically, the moral of the story is today that we are making non-traditional Welsh cakes. So please don't come at me and tell me that these are not Welsh cakes, because they are. They're just not traditional. I just added vanilla instead of like water or milk to help it come together better. But it's still kind of crumbly, which I blame on, but it's starting to come together. Now you can kind of see it's crumbly. So we're gonna have to add some more water, but now is the perfect time to stir in traditionally your currants, but we're not using currants, we're using chocolate chips because that's what I have. So mini chocolate chips, a half a cup. Measure with your heart. I know you're supposed to measure everything like really specifically in baking, and I think it's just, I've been baking since I was 6 years old, so I can just eyeball it and it works fine about 90% of the time. Maybe 95% of the time. And usually when it doesn't work out, it's because I didn't realize that my baking powder is expired or like something weird like that. Or I use margarine and the company put way more water in their margarine than they're supposed to, which used to not be common, but with shrinkflation, it seems to happen all the time. So now I just use butter, which I haven't had as many issues with. Okay, so now you can see it kind of looks like crumbly chocolate chip cookie dough. So if you're going the traditional route, just pretend those are currant. Just a little bit of water, probably about a tablespoon. You can always add more, but you can't take it back out. So start with a little and see where that gets you. So it wasn't quite a tablespoon. See if it'll hold together. Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what you want. It's still like crumbly-ish, but when you roll it out, it's gonna stick together. So that is perfect. So now we're gonna roll some of it out to about 1/4 of an inch thick. I'm just rolling it on parchment paper. Just got it everywhere. So you can kind of see how it's still kind of crumbly, but it should be fine. And then you just use little cutters to cut them out. And then you're gonna place it on a greased skillet, which I probably should have preheated longer, but anyway. I wanted to make one with my little teacup cutter. See if it works. It's so cute. How you know when to flip them is when they kind of look like they're starting to get done on the opposite, like on the side that you're seeing. Kind of like when a pancake looks cooked around the side. And then you just dust them with granulated sugar when they're done while they're still warm.
And here is the final result.